morning, everybody. Whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, or around the world, this is Coast to Coast. How you doing today, gentlemen?
Good morning, men. How's everything? Well, Bo, we can't say how you doing. We already know how my guy's doing. How are you recovering from the Phillies sweep?
Oh,
not as bad as you would think. Obviously we only see you on Wednesdays, so to kind of give you a quick synopsis, I felt that the Flyers sweep happened exactly as it should have. The ovation that the team got after being swept, and really do trying their best. I mean, obviously Carolina is such a championship talent right now, and are clicking on all cylinders. It's been since I think it was 1985 was the last time a team has swept the first two series of in hockey, and even though they were swept, they got a standing ovation for about 5 minutes after the game. And they would not have gotten that had they won that game and went down to Carolina and lost it. So for them, I feel like they absolutely that series went exactly as it should have. They tried their best. Those games were close, but ultimately all four games they were on the losing side of things. The Sixers, however, real frustrating about that and the way that they quit. I feel like they just quit. They did not want to play game four. It was a Knicks crowd all the way around. Like when 70% of the crowd is Knicks, it's, and the Sixers they took the lead 2-0, and that was the highlight of their day. And at one point in the third quarter, the Knicks shot the ball and it was a brick, or the Sixers shot the ball and it was a brick, and nobody went after the ball. Like nobody, neither team. And the ball bounced and slowly rolled out of bounds. And in the meantime, I'm watching Embiid. Somebody shot the ball and he just turned around and started walking back up the court. Didn't even pay attention to, hey, maybe somebody could have gotten the ball or anything like that. And at that moment, there was still like 8 minutes left in the third quarter. And I was like, did everybody else just see that? If they're going to quit, if I'm trying harder than the team, I don't need to be here anymore.
Yeah.
And they got what they deserved, I feel.
Yeah.
So what do you do with Embiid, though? Embiid, you're kind of I don't want to say you're stuck with Embiid, but he's on the team for a big ticket. Do you build around Embiid? Do you cut your losses and focus on Maxey and and let him lead the charge, Maxey and Edgecombe? What's your thoughts on that one?
So I'll tell you, before I get into my thoughts, I will tell you that they have been talking about this over sports talk radio in Philadelphia for the last 3 days.
I believe it.
In the discussion, they're trying to figure out who would be the best to trade. There has been 41% Embiid, 39% Paul George, and then 20% Maxey, because Maxey would be the one that would get you the most.
You're not trading Maxey. They would be.
I agree. There's no need for us to trade Maxey.
Fired Murray, but if they traded Maxey, Philly.
Did they fire him?
They fired Murray, didn't they? The GM.
I heard that they were talking about it, but I didn't hear that officially.
Yeah, my understanding is they finally cut the cord.
Well, at least that's moving the first place in the right direction. I don't mind if they keep Nurse right now until they get a new GM and figure out whether he's supposed to stay or not. But I did not. There he goes. Okay. It's just saying it's complicated, but okay.
We all know what that designation means. Complicated means you broke up. Like,
Well, and I wasn't a big fan of Maury.
Why not? Maury gave you guys a playoff team.
We had a playoff team before Maury. So it's I don't know that he gave us one. I looked at him as better than better than Colangelo because I felt that he was more worried about the burner accounts.
Wi-Fi brought to you by Temu.
Yeah, I don't fucking know, guys.
Hey. Radio show.
There we go. Anyways, so yeah, I'm very happy that they got rid of him, and then I feel like that whoever they're going to bring in now is going to be stuck with some of this. There's a piece of me that believes that the Lakers, depending on what they do with LeBron, could be a spot. And the Lakers have a couple of bench guys that would for the Sixers that they and a couple of expiring contracts that they could give up because you only have to really worry about the money for 1 year. And I know he's got $59 million on the books this upcoming year, which means that they have to take one big expiring contract for like $30 million and then a couple of bench guys for like $10 million each. And then you could keep it within the 18%, I think is what it's got to be. It's got to be like the 59 for 50 for 59 million would work. And I think that the Lakers are one of those teams that can withstand some of that. And I understand that, he feels that he's going to be able to come back and play a lot more, but Embiid is the reason why that they even considered firing Maury in the first place. So I don't suspect that they're going to trade him. I
missed a conversation with the Lakers. I didn't understand how the Lakers got involved.
We've been talking about teams that could possibly take on a contract as large as Embiid's. And
Embiid's not going to. The Lakers aren't trading for Embiid. Come on, cut it out.
Well,
Lakers aren't trading for Embiid.
Listen, I don't get to make any of those calls, but I'm just saying that they have the ability to do so. I didn't say that they would, but that they have the ability, depending on what they do with LeBron. And when it comes to the other teams, I don't know the other teams well enough to know whether they would have that or not. What it looks like to me is that I do not expect that they're going to be able to trade Embiid. I do suspect that they could possibly trade Paul George, but they would also have to give up an asset with that. And that makes me think that not only would they have to trade Paul George, but they'd probably have to trade I don't know, whatever assets they have, probably a couple of first-round picks to be able to get rid of and to get to some space on the cap. Because the one problem that we continue to have, and we have had for years, is that we do not have any bench. There's no bench on this team whatsoever. You cannot keep going into a playoff series with 7 guys, 4 of which are over 30. It's like you just can't do it. And that's a problem. You know what I mean? Ultimately, you're going to run into exhaustion. And when you get exhausted on a court in the playoffs, you foul and you get in foul trouble, and then you're forced to have to use the other guys on the bench that you don't want to anyways. And it works in the opposite favor. So, I learned that with the Knicks. The Knicks look really strong right now. They ran the entire series. They played good basketball, and ultimately they made the Sixers look foolish. And that's all I can really say about that. And it's, I'm a fan, but I'm also realistic. And, I feel like that the Sixers were never in this series. It was never going to be something that they were able to contest. And it's never going to be that way until they start to fix the bench problem in the first place.
Yeah, I didn't think they'd win, but I certainly didn't expect them to look as bad as they did. And then for them to give up, really long before the play you're talking about in that last game. I mean, that game wasn't close after about 5 minutes.
Yeah, and it's it is what it is. You know what I mean? I feel like that they knew it too, and they're like, hey, you know what?
So do you think is this? I understand the challenges that you're talking about in the offseason, but was this a good season for the 76ers, do you think? Because I'm not sure many people thought the Sixers were going to make it this far, and in fact, win a series. Was that a good season in respect? I mean, they knocked off the Boston Celtics, who obviously a little egg-headed themselves, but they were able to knock off the Celtics. Did you expect them to knock off the Celtics when that series began?
No. If you remember last week when I told you, I thought that they were done, or 2 weeks ago I thought we were done. That series was over when they were up 3-1. So they showed a lot of heart in that, and they were able to do certain things. I also feel like the Celtics brought that loss a little bit on themselves.
Oh yeah,
right.
You live and die by the three, and ultimately they killed themselves with their own sword. And I'm yes, the fact that they showed the heart in that series and then very quickly lost all of that heart, bothers me.
Well, I mean, okay, did they lose the heart? Or did they just get beat by a better team?
No, when you're losing by 30 and 40 points, that's rough. Especially the last one. The last one they gave up. Like, you could see them give up on the court. You could say that the first game that they got blown out by 30 plus, you could say they were just exhausted, right? Because they had basically 1 day of rest and came into
it was a scheduling loss. Yeah, that was a scheduling loss. Yeah.
So I mean, you can blame that if you want, although the point spread on that was a little ridiculous, but you could see moments through this series that they were giving up, and then that fourth game they gave up early, and it was obvious.
Final question, Bo. Did you get the link that I sent you? I just want to. Yeah.
It's not pulling up though.
Oh, it's not coming up. Darn it.
No.
I wanted to know if I had footage of him in the Eagles stands throwing snowballs at fans representing the Eagles.
I wasn't alive when they threw him at Santa. I'm not as old as you.
Oddly enough, I'm talking about a video that was from last season.
Well, no. So you got to remember, we all do this for work, so he can't go out and be in the stadium being a jerk like that. That doesn't really do well for sponsorships.
Yeah, they catch me throwing a snowball. I'm usually, that's not that's a no bueno for me.
Right.
So what's the Eagles? Are you a fan of Sirianni? And I'm only asking you, these Eagles fans, obviously, because you're an Eagle fan, or these Eagles questions, obviously, because you're an Eagle fan. Are you a fan of Sirianni? Do you every year he appears to be on the hot seat for some reason. When after you go to a Super Bowl and then you win a Super Bowl, I think you should have some kind of grace. But every year the pressure seems to be on Sirianni.
Eagles don't care if you went and won. Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl, had an off year, was fired.
Well, I mean,
pretty sure different scenario.
It's an organization, though.
Yeah, it's an organization. But is Sirianni? Do you agree with the hot seat here? Sirianni gets put on every September.
No, I'm not. And that's I feel like more fan and media driven. It is not driven necessarily by the team itself.
Really?
I will say that this team, that the Eagles themselves have amongst anything else, the Lurie group, since Lurie has taken over as owner, they have been very good at picking coaches, and I feel like that they do something very interesting that somebody, a really intelligent businessman taught me, at a younger age. You hire slow and fire fast. And ultimately, that when you start to see things that uh, contradict your culture, you have to cut that out quickly. So I feel that when the fans see how that is, the fans don't 100% get the culture in general. Like, I get it, I understand it, I can appreciate it. I don't feel that all the Philadelphia fans 100% understand that. And that's where I feel that the hot seat's always in play, because the Eagles are quick sometimes to pull a trigger on a coach. Now, when we talk about Doug Peterson and what happened with him, he had a poor season, and they wanted to make some changes because they didn't feel that the team was moving in the right direction. Doug Peterson was like, I want to run back with my crew. And they said, no, we're not going to allow that. We'd like for you to make some of these changes. And he said, no, I'm going to run back with my crew. And that's what ultimately it was they both were looking at things in a different way, and they separated mutually. So he was fired, per se, because that's how it is. You get fired, but they were not looking at the team and the direction of the team in the exact same way.
Well, you have to be fired, because otherwise you're giving your contract away, and there's no way he was going to give up the rest of his contract. You can be like, look, I'm either coaching or you're firing me, but you're paying me either way.
Right. And then right after him, they bring in Nick Sirianni, who has only ever gone to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And he's been to 2 Super Bowls. Now, you could blame that on the offensive and defensive coordinators that they have been choosing things. And I feel that there are certain deficiencies that Nick Sirianni has. Choosing his own staff is one of them. I feel that he puts loyalty and friendship sometimes ahead of qualifications. And I feel like that's kind of what you had happen last year. I think that's what you also had happen in 23, because it seemed like the same type of situation, the exact same almost, where the Eagles started off great. In 23, we got beat by San Francisco, and things just went downhill. We only won one more game after that. We started out 11-1, and we won 12 games on the season, including the playoffs. And the next year, the Eagles took part in hiring both the offensive and defensive coordinators, and we go to the Super Bowl and win it. We lose our coordinators again. And now, we lost one, our offensive coordinator. And then we upgraded the guy that we thought helped the most, the passing game coordinator, to offensive coordinator, because I felt that, again, it was friendship and loyalty that he used to do that. And the rumor is that he was using ChatGPT to create offensive plays. And whether that's true or not, it's funny. It's funny
why did he just go to Madden 2026?
There's a lot of actually. It might have been easier if he went to Madden like 96 and started to pull some of those old plays from there.
Yeah,
People forgot about him by then. You know what I mean? But
See, and that makes the call sheet real easy. You're like main
Oh, my
screen
goodness
X,
gracious.
third row Y.
left, right, left, right, left.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
even if
funny.
it's not true, the fact that lives out in the world is terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
and now we have somebody who is much more intricate and has much more detail. Like there was just, I mean, everything was plain sets. They didn't do much with motion. They didn't try to scheme anything. And now we have a guy who does all of this. And they wanted to say, like I said, all of this stuff comes out about Jalen Hurts. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. It was too complicated for him. All happens after the offensive coordinator leaves, and that that Jalen Hurts was uncoachable. And I tell you that I feel that, and when you hear that type of stuff, and you hear that well after the fact, like after the offensive coordinator is let go, and then all of this stuff comes out, like it's been leaked by multiple sources. Well, the multiple sources is everybody that the offensive coordinator spoke to. So I feel that was more a testament on that offensive coordinator coaching than it is the player, because the player the year before was the Super Bowl MVP.
Do you are you in agreement? Are you in agreement? I guess with Jalen. What do you think of Jalen Hurts? I guess is the best way to phrase that question. What do you think of Jalen Hurts?
I think he's a very focused man who isn't necessarily the most or the best vocal leader, but he is very focused on being the best that ever was. And whether he gets there or not is irrelevant. I think that he is very focused on that. I recently got to interview him very quickly. I got to ask him one question. And my question was to him, who are your favorite non-football athletes? And of
Michael
course,
Jordan, he had to say
said,
Jordan number one, right?
Well, Michael Jordan was number one. But then, and I responded, I said, that's what I thought you would say. And then he went down a list of like 5 other names, all of which are arguably the greatest in their sport. Serena Williams, Muhammad Ali, and like he just went down the list. And I was able to capture it all on video. And what that told me is that when you are admiring the best that ever played, and you can admire them, you could try to mimic their work habits. And I feel like that's what he does. He mimics their work habits.
That's what you want him to do.
Right. And I don't care if he's the most social of guys. It doesn't matter to me that, he isn't super friendly with AJ Brown like he used to be. You know what I mean? That's not what he's there for.
Do you know what happened there? Do you have any insight into what happened? Because my understanding that they were cool when 2 years ago.
They were some of the best of friends. When they traded for him, there was a video that was going around that they did a video conference call between the two of them, and they're laughing hysterically, and they say, let's go win this thing. AJ Brown says, let's go win this thing. And Jalen Hurts says, say no more. And then there was, I think that as you start to mature a little bit, and as Jalen Hurts started to evolve as a quarterback, there were certain things that he was doing that AJ Brown
or not
Yeah.
doing.
Well, it could be, but I think that he was being more reclusive and doing his workouts more individually. Like before they went to the Super Bowl in 22, he was working with Tom Brady's personal coach. Okay, I like that. You're going to work with the same coach that Tom Brady worked with, and he won 7 Super Bowls, so I can appreciate that. He gets to the Super Bowl, he then calls up, like when he wins the Super Bowl and he gets the Super Bowl MVP, he calls up Michael Jordan to talk about how he felt after winning his first one. And Michael Jordan's talking to him about how you've won one, and that's fantastic. You do a small celebration, but you can't reward yourself yet because you're not where you want to be yet.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And when you start having that mindset, when you start operating on that type of level, that is a road that nobody else goes on. Nobody else operates on that road.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't say nobody, but very, very few. And that can possibly alienate teammates and alienate people that you were once close to because you are changing your focus on being the best that there ever was. And when you're doing that, sometimes you lose a lot of the other stuff.
So he wasn't.
One.
So you're saying, if I hear you correctly, you're saying he was focusing. In this, I did know from afar that he's trying to beat Michael Jordan. But you're saying along this path,
not a bad thing to strive for.
Well, yeah, you're right. But as a quarterback, they're different positions. In the NBA, you can
It's
be
a mindset.
that.
It's a mindset you're trying to duplicate. You're not trying to be the guy. You're not trying to be the best.
I think Jalen Hurts was.
Mindset.
I think Jalen Hurts was trying to be that guy because the mindset of being the best guy. The difference is in basketball, you can be 100% that guy and be selfish because you only have to bring 4 other guys along with you. In the NFL, he has to bring 11 guys with him, 10 more guys on offense, and then the whole team is looking at him on as far as being the leader.
If there's one position on a football field that the guy can be selfish, it's the guy that starts with the ball in his hand every time.
No, it's not. It's not. Absolutely not. Because with him, and I'll say this, and this is kind of where
distributes the ball. He gets to decide where that goes.
What I'm saying is that guy, I don't know that him being selfish is that's a detriment to the team because he has to spread it around. He can't have favorites. He can't have Smith over here is his go-to guy when AJ Brown is open 75% of the time. You can't have favorites in that respect. You got to
you can't.
You still have to be a team player.
So you can't ignore an open man, sure, but you can't tell me that quarterbacks don't have a favorite receiver because they have chemistry there and their guy, when they throw it to him, they don't drop the ball. Tom Brady, you dropped a ball, he stops throwing it to you. Aaron Rodgers will never throw you the ball again if you drop a ball. Like, what are you talking about, man?
Again, how has that served Aaron Rodgers being selfish?
Oh, so we're just going to gloss over Brady then. Okay. All right.
If you want to put out one anomaly and just talk about the one guy who won seven Super Bowls, you can do that, and you can say everything he's done is
that's cool. That's cool. Let's go with Rodgers. Then he wins the Super Bowl. He has 4 MVPs. He won a litany of games. I'd say he went to 4 or 5 other NFC Championship games.
Would you just looking back at Aaron Rodgers' career, is that underperformance or did he overperform?
I don't know that he did either.
Yeah, I was going to say I think he performed exactly what you expected.
I think that
the quarterback that wins 4 MVPs. You don't think the quarterback that won 4 MVPs should have won more than 1 Super Bowl?
Quarterback doesn't play defense. You
And,
mean to tell me that Aaron Rodgers is the reason that there was a 4-minute collapse that let Seattle go to a second Super Bowl in a row when they were getting absolutely blasted the entire time and were losing by double digits? Seattle comes back to win in overtime. That's on Rodgers?
Did Rodgers score more points than the Seahawks did?
Did the defense ever get a stop?
Well, I can't look back at the game, but I'm just saying, does Aaron Rodgers had the ball, right? While there was the collapse, while the defense was collapsing, did Aaron Rodgers ever get the ball back? I'm not sure. I don't recall. I didn't watch the game.
He scored. That's why it went to overtime. Or if you want to go this route, Joe Burrow. So he's a scrub because he doesn't have a defense, but he should be able to do everything, even though he does score like 40 points a game. But because the defense can't get him to win, he's a bum. Is that where we're going with this analogy?
I've never made any analogy like that. I'm not sure where you're going. What I was saying was the quarterback cannot be a selfish guy, because he has to lead the team. And if you become a selfish guy, then you start seeing separation from the guy. You guys start seeing the clicking, the team clicks. You start seeing the team going off in their own cylinders. You start seeing the team not working, not playing with chemistry. I think that's the quarterback's job. And so when I was getting to with Jalen Hurts, it's not really two different things.
No, it is though, because if
the quarterback starts becoming selfish and reclusive, then he's not being the team player that he was, that started this chemistry, that started this good juju that led him to the Super Bowl initially. Then he played well. He come back and he still was focused because he lost that first Super Bowl. He come back and win the Super Bowl. And then I think that's when the attitude, the mindset kind of changes. I'm okay with the guy wanting to be the best you can ever be. But if you become a recluse and you don't become you start thinking you're the man, you're the reason that all this happened, then I think you're going to eat some shit or eat some crow, because some of this happens.
Man, we got to work on your radio action, man.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
I'm going to get some pretty nasty emails later today. You gotta figure that out.
Well, send it to me. Send it to me. But that's where I was going with Jalen Hurts. I was thinking, and I was asking because
here's what I could kind of say, and we'll talk about as you mentioned, Aaron Rodgers. So Aaron Rodgers has never been looked at as a friendly guy by his teammates.
Nope.
Has not ever been looked at as a great teammate, so to speak. However, he did win a Super Bowl, and even then, he was still looked at as not the greatest of teammates. Did he go back to the Super Bowl? No, and there's 31 other teams that are trying their best to make sure that he never goes back, and, I think of him, and then I also think of maybe the consummate team quarterback where I have, for the Bills, and where you have Josh Allen, who is looked at as such the team player, but can't seem to get past Patrick Mahomes, can't seem to get past, Joe Burrow. Like, he can't get past the elite quarterbacks. And I don't know if that's a mindset. Is that the team just not doing what they need to? Can you blame the defense? Listen, Josh Allen has thrown up some clunkers in some big spotlight moments. Mm-hmm. But does that define him as a quarterback for the rest of his life? Possibly. Marino's always looked at as one of the greatest, but couldn't ever win a Super Bowl. Got there one time and that was it. Yep. And
that's another guy that you can say defense never helped him out, because dude threw all over the yard every year, but the defense could never get anything done.
Same thing with Dan Fouts.
But him not having a ring is a detriment to his career.
It is. It is. But Bo, you brought up Tom Brady, and as far as I've known, Tom Brady was a very good teammate for the majority of his career.
He still had favorite targets.
Is example of that. Yeah, but teammate, and I never said anything about having favorite targets.
You did.
I said something about him being selfish and claiming, and that's the point I was making with Hurts, is him being selfish would be a detriment to the team. He could.
So what is your definition of selfish here then? Because I guess that's what we need to figure out, because you're going to have to.
Hurts, I think, has evolved after they won the Super Bowl. My feeling is with Jalen Hurts is that he's risk averse, first of all, and I think that's what hurts the team more so than anything, is that he's risk averse and he doesn't want to put the ball in harm's way. So when he has Brown, having a half a step in front of a defender, Hurts doesn't want to put it out there because he doesn't have a full step on the defender. And the same thing with Devontae Smith. Well, that's her throwing style, and he doesn't throw over the middle of the field very often. So I think those are the couple of things that he needs to work on. With him, when he won the Super Bowl, as he mentioned,
so you're mad that he's not a gunslinger.
No, I'm not mad at Hurts at all. I'm not mad at Hurts. We're just talking about Jalen Hurts. I was talking about him, and I was wondering what changed from the time that they won the Super Bowl to the time to now, after they won the Super Bowl. And the changes has been in his training and his attitude. I think his attitude is he's turned off some players. That's kind of, from the outside looking in, that's kind of what I've seen, or what I've witnessed, what I've seen. But I was talking about him being selfish, and the fact that he still needs to be a leader. You can't really it's hard to be selfish and be a leader at the same time. And I think that's probably, he kind of stepped in some stuff after winning the Super Bowl, trying to think it's all about him when he does need other guys around.
I don't know that I feel that way. You don't ever hear the same things about Devonta Smith having the same issues that A.J. Brown has. You don't ever hear about Dallas Goedert didn't want to go anywhere else, took less money to stay with the Eagles and stay with Jalen Hurts in comparison of going to another team. I feel that there is, you may have some credence to what it is you're saying, and because I understand the concept of what you're saying here. What I'm saying is that I don't know that it's as blatant as you're saying that it is, because A.J. Brown and Hurts had this issue in 23, and then in 24, it didn't go. It didn't go away, but they won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And then in 25, it came out again. And that
got worse. It just got worse. It appeared.
The thing is if it was a epidemic the way that you're laying it out there, then you would end up with offensive line letting some guys get through. When you have, no, that is 100% true. Like if you have a quarterback that is, I'm better than the team, you're that kind of mentality. Offensive
you have Jeff George. You have Jeff George.
100%. And a lineman will miss a block to get you lit up at times. I'd be like, man, better get that cart. Like, so yeah, I don't think it's to that degree. Does it sound like he's a bubbly guy that's friends with everybody? No, it doesn't. That doesn't mean he's a selfish, bad teammate, however you want to label that. I mean, he may not get along with A.J. Brown, but I mean, how many places did you work that you were friends with literally everyone in the building? Like, there's going to be guys you don't like.
Sure. Yes, there is. Unfortunately, as the quarterback of a professional football team, I mean, that's kind of, I think you in that situation, you should be making the bread for everybody, making the bed for everybody, creating the culture, creating an environment where everybody can excel and succeed. and you guys are
in corporate America. In corporate America, you can see managers and you can see a manager and you know which employee is not his favorite.
Yeah.
You can figure that out. So I mean, it's a job, man. Like they're not like holding hands and having like it's a job.
They're not singing Kumbaya.
Not at all. But they still got to go out there and do their job. So I mean,
let's go about this in a different way and take the conversation away from Hurts. Let's talk about Darnold. Darnold, here it was. He did everything he could in Minnesota, and he had 2 games where the offensive line did not help him in the slightest bit. Happened to be the last game of the season and the first game of the playoffs, and he got lit up because of a poor offensive line play. And they put all of the blame on him. He wasn't a bad teammate. He was able to do everything. Everybody was saying, we don't understand why you may be getting rid of him. And here he then goes, first year in Seattle with a second-year coach, whole new staff around him. He's got to learn a new playbook. He's got to learn new players. He's got to do all those different things. And I'll be honest, I never heard any story that he is by far the leader on this team. He was just kind of one of the guys, that happened to play quarterback. And that team was, that I didn't hear about any one specific leader. Bo might be able to talk about that a little bit differently. But here it is. One team's trash is another team's treasure. Mm-hmm. And it shows in such a way that everybody in Minnesota gets fired.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny, like there's he's just not a vocal leader, but they do follow him, right? Like they do respect him as like a leader in the clubhouse. But yeah, to your point, he's not one of those guys that's overly vocal and out in the public and all of that. Like he's more of a let's just get to work guy.
Yeah, and it's
Sam Darnold.
And I let's I'm going to liken this now to a different sport and keep it in my city. Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper has been looked at since he was 19 years old and came up in the Major League Baseball as one of the greats of the game since he's been up here. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say all time, but one of the greats of the game. He's not a great leader. Sometimes he is able to lead by example, and he'll have clutch hits and do clutch things. But when you think of the vocal leader on the team, I think of Schwarber. I think of other guys on that team rather than Harper. Harper is, I don't know if I could call it selfish, but for lack of a better terms, he's more me oriented, than that.
Baseball? Isn't that the nature of baseball?
I don't think so. In fact, I say all the time, teams that drink together win together, so that you have to have a camaraderie in your clubhouse. And if you don't have that, it creates a tumor, which then creates a cancer. I can't necessarily say that it's always. That's why I say it will create a tumor. And sometimes that tumor is cancerous, sometimes it's not.
It's not a tumor.
But I think that because the way that Harper works and the way that Harper does things, when I say, when the team has outings where everybody on the team is invited, Harper doesn't go often. He doesn't go to those events. There's a couple of reasons. Harper does not drink at all, not a drop at all. So is he going to feel comfortable at those events? Maybe not. Maybe he doesn't want to have the possibility of somebody offering some type of peer pressure in that regards. And that's fine. I get it. You know, you don't want to be the guy, everybody's doing a shot and you're the guy holding a glass of water. I understand that that's maybe not something that you want to be a part of. That being said, does that make him a terribly bad teammate? I don't know that that's the case, but it's been, you know, but I'll tell you this, they haven't won a championship either. And, you know, when he left the Nationals and came to the Phillies, what did the Nationals go out and do? They won a championship. They went to the World Series in 22. They met the Astros that were really a good team at that time. And even without cheating, they were able to win a World Series and beat us in 6 games. And those are real things, you know, and since then we haven't been able to get back. And you could blame some of that on Harper. You know, you could say that, hey, when it comes down to some very clutch times, he has not been able to show up in that capacity. But I don't know that it's always all his fault either. But I look at him, you know, when you look at this team from the outside looking in, you look at him as the quarterback of the Phillies. And I think that although he has a lot of me tendencies, you know, could that be considered selfish? I guess maybe in your eyes, at the way that you're explaining things, yes, it does make him selfish.
Well, I think baseball and compared to all the sports is the most individual sport masquerading as a team sport. So I think that's I haven't spent a lot of time. I can't call every baseball player selfish, but I think that lends to the individuality of that sport. That lends to them.
You can have a player take over a game, specifically a pitcher, right? But they don't play every day. So, I mean, you still need your team to go do team things, and you can't win unless somebody generates a run. So, I mean, you can do it by yourself a little bit, but you need help. I would say the most individual team sport would be basketball, is because you used to be able to have like one star out there and could take over a team. Now they start building super teams and you need 2 or 3 of them. But I mean, at the same time, you can have a guy take over a team and potentially get you in the playoffs, because half the league gets in the playoffs.
In basketball.
Yeah, I don't just.
That's what I'm saying. Is basketball.
I don't agree basketball being an individual sport whatsoever. So, because I disagree with that one.
But I do believe that they take on the identity of the main guy on the court while they're on the court. And when you have a guy like Embiid who shows quits during a game, the rest of the team follows suit. And that may be considered selfish.
That's a lack of leadership for sure.
Yeah, that's certainly lack of leadership. Is Embiid, I mean, after this season, is Embiid going to be the quote unquote best player on the team? I mean, I know he's 7 foot and 250 and can shoot a jumper from the elbow, et cetera, but availability is the best ability. And Maxey appears to be the guy. I think that torch has been passed. Has it? Well, let me ask you: has the torch been passed in Philadelphia, or would you rather see Embiid come back and be the star of that team next year?
So it doesn't matter how I feel about it. The problem is that when Embiid is on the court, everything goes through Embiid.
Yeah.
When Embiid is not on the court,
should that still be the case going into next season?
I don't think that there's any other way of doing it because of how. Listen, you can't argue about how good of a talent he is. So take Embiid out of it, and Paul George at one point in his career was looked at very similar.
The best player on the team. How are you going to take Embiid out of it? I thought he was.
Well, because he's hurt. You're saying the availability is the best ability. I understand that, and he's not available all the time. But now you got Paul George, who also was looked at on numerous teams as that guy, but yet on the Sixers, he still wants to be that guy. And on occasion, a very rare occasion, he's able to be that guy. He's able to knock down those threes. Most of the times, he's putting up bricks. And the fact that because Embiid's not there, and now he looks at himself as he's the guy instead of being Maxi or instead of being, VJ Edgecombe, and Maxi's the guard, so he's passing the ball off. He's going to do that. And when you get the selfishness of George, which is, I feel, what that is, because when you are shooting 2 for 13 from the arc and you keep putting it up there and it keeps bricking, you know what I mean? At that point, you are being selfish because you're thinking you can shoot your way out of it. And in the meantime, all you're doing is giving them rebounds, and they're going up the court and putting a basket in. And then you go down the court, you get the ball, you put it up. Oh, another brick. You go back down the court, they put in a basket. And you know what happens after a little bit of time? You're down by 30 points.
Well, and it's not like we haven't seen this movie before. AD is that kind of guy. He's hurt a lot. He gets in weird slumps and still tries to take over the game. And I mean, not a great leader like that. We've seen this before.
So I understand what it is that you're saying, but I don't necessarily agree that when you're talking about it in football sense, I don't believe that he's a selfish player. I think he's selfish in the fact that he wants to be the greatest to play the game. And that road, like I said, that road is a lonely road because you spend a lot of time with introspection, is how I'll put that. Like you have to look at yourself in the mirror a lot when you are playing on that level and when you want to play on that level. I heard thousands of different stories how Michael Jordan was a terrible teammate while he was playing. But you know what? He was the greatest to play. And now, as he looks back and reflects back, he says he couldn't have done anything without Pippen. He needed to have, those guys around him because he was unable to do it 100% by himself. But at the time, he was saying it was all me.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't saying that. He wasn't saying that.
I don't know. You ask Pippen about it, and you see Pippen's.
They weren't friends. They didn't go out. He wasn't. They weren't friends. But he didn't. Never. Michael Jordan never came out and said it was all me. He didn't. He didn't do that. But he didn't go out of the way and said I couldn't have did it without Pippen. He didn't say that back in the 90s.
Back in the day. He's done that now. Like I said, he's looked at this now.
He didn't ever say it was all about me, but he has been, obviously, you get older, you become more reflective. He has come out and openly said he couldn't have done it without Pippen. That he did not say after in 2000 or 2003 when he retired.
Right. And when I think about all that stuff and you think about how that all works, I remember the stories about how, the Dream Team, when they would have competitions that like scrimmages against each other, and he walked into that room and said, "There's a new sheriff in town." You know what I mean? Smoking a cigar, going into the locker room and saying that there's a new sheriff in town. You know what I mean? That is a massive ego. You know what I mean? And like I said, you all like Magic had it, Larry Bird had it. I love hearing them stories.
You have to have this audacious thoughts of yourself to kind of achieve. You have to be extremely confident, uber confident, uber confident in your skills and abilities to get to excel to that far. Yes, you have to have that. You have to have that uber confidence. Yes, and it works for some. It turns others into different people. When you have some success and you have the uber confidence, It works for some people and works against others, unfortunately.
Well, and in the meantime, I think that it's that confidence could look like arrogance, which could look like selfishness. And I think that it's in certain circumstances they are equal to each other. In sports, it's really hard to determine that, though. And I don't think that, to go back to the original statement, I don't look at Jalen Hurts as a selfish player. And I don't think that I don't find him to be a selfish person at all. And because of that, he's my quarterback. And I trust the fact that he is going to do what he needs to do to win.
Talk about your new receiving core. They got the dude from USC. They picked up a couple other guys who I don't think they got Hollywood Brown, right? And they got somebody else.
Yeah, they got a couple of guys. It'll be interesting to see. Right now, I'm just waiting for June 1st to see what the story really is.
If it actually happens. Well, come on. Yeah. All signs kind of lead that way, don't
100%. But until it actually happens, I can't. I don't want to hypothesize. AJ Brown is looking at getting apartments up in Boston. You know what I mean? That's usually a telltale sign. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, the telltale sign is that you signed 3 receivers in the offseason and then drafted one with a pretty high pick. I mean, that's pretty.
Well, you drafted one with a pretty high pick who's going to play the slot receiver right now. So you would still need a number 1 and number 2. And as of right now, AJ Brown's the number 1 and Devontae Smith is the number 2. So
can Devontae Smith move into the number 1 spot?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't look at that as a problem. I try to figure out who is going to be the one that steps up to get in the number 2 spot, like Hollywood Brown or.
I think that's going to be your rookie. I think your rookie's going to step into the number 2 spot.
Yeah, but he's better in the slot. So
he's nice in the slot.
Yeah, so we'll have to absolutely see. But until that point really occurs, I cannot just say he's going to be going.
About it.
I can't say he's going to be going because I said all along that he was staying, and we don't even know who the coach of the Patriots is going to be by June 1st.
Do you think they will have a new coach by June 1st, let alone September 1st?
Like, not likely, but
they could have an interim. They could possibly have an interim. I don't know that that's going to be. I don't know that he's going to be fired or asked to just stop for a month or a year. I think
how's his owner going to fire anybody when his owner was found in the owner can't fire Kraft can't fire nobody, not for this.
Well, you're right. He can't let anybody go for this. My thought is that he may have to do some self policing, or else they're going to possibly lose some draft picks and stuff like that.
It might be
tampering on a big scale.
It might be a scenario where they're like, "Hey, you need to go to counseling with your family and take a year off." Like there is speculation that something like that could happen without getting fired.
He did his counseling during the draft weekend. He had to go.
I don't think a weekend of counseling is just going to fix years of issues.
I don't need it.
Nor will the last 1 minute of this show be able to get us through any other topic. So we do appreciate everybody that is tuned in. Be sure to like and subscribe if you're listening on all the other platforms. If you're listening on 97.3 ICU Radio and you're hanging out this long, stay tuned for some smooth jazz coming up next. Otherwise, we are going to get out of here. We will see you all tomorrow. Take it easy, everybody.
Have a good one, man.
And it's not closing out.